Hey everyone, what's up? It's Drew from the Drewsperience, the podcast that's combat sports, anime, and now Canadian politics. So, wow, can't believe it. So today I'm joined by one of the most powerful voices in Canadian conservatism. So I'm joined by Tasha Kheiriddin, a brilliant political mind, towering presence, and a devoted mom who's become a powerful advocate for autism. Sharp, bold, and impossible to ignore. She's not just a commanding intellect, but a beautiful, statuesque queen whose insight and charisma light up every room. Tasha brings heart, fire, and a bit of regal flair for every conversation. I'll do my part to keep up. We may disagree on stuff, we may agree, but ultimately it's to have a great dialogue. Welcome to the show, Tasha.
Drew, that is the nicest introduction I think anyone's given me, maybe ever. So thank you. It's great to be here.
No, thank you for doing it. I mean, obviously, guys, make sure to get her book, The Right Path. It's available on Amazon. It's $20. It's one of the most influential books. Stuff I agreed with pretty much. I'd say 65% of things. Some stuff
That's
I was like
good. That's
indifferent,
good.
but amazing. It helped my mayoral candidate win his race because you said incrementalism. That's what we got to do. I did it. So yeah, great. Get it. And it's going to teach you about how the conservatives can move forward. So yeah, lots to talk about. So Tasha, you got a very interesting background because you came from from a working class background. You went to Bray-Beouf, which is no small feat, and you managed to bring home straight A's. And then in '84, got this here. You got involved with Brian Mulroney, arguably
Yes.
the greatest PM in my opinion. And this is his book memoirs. So if you're ever in Montreal, please sign it because you're a Mulroney conservative. So yes.
Thanks.
So how did you get involved with politics to begin with at such a young age?
Well, it was actually a colleague of my father. My father was a
Hmm.
life insurance agent,
Hmm.
and his one of his colleagues said to him, that Brian Mulroney's running, and he was helping the candidate in our
Hmm.
riding. I was living in Lachine,
Hmm.
Lac Saint Louis, as the riding was called. And he said, you should get involved to my dad. And my dad's like, I don't really have time. But Tasha does. It's the summer. She's not doing anything. And I had always been interested in politics. I had followed Margaret Thatcher as a child when she was elected in 1979. I actually wrote to her. She never wrote back. But as a class project, I'd written to Joe Clark and Pierre Trudeau, and I was sort of, I was just interested in politics, and so I went to the campaign office. I volunteered, and that was it. I was hooked. The youth movement in the riding was, I cut my teeth there.
Hmm.
I worked in the campaign office. I was the only, actually, it's funny, I was the only person who knew how to run the computer system at the time. So it was 1984. I was a geek. I was a computer geek. I could set up track the vote, get out the vote stuff. And so I actually ended up doing that for the campaign. Quite funny. But yes, that was my baptism in politics, and I've been there ever since.
Arguably, that was the greatest election for conservatives in history. You were part of it. I'm still trying to collect that Time magazine issue where it shows Mulroney. It says Canada changes course. So my goal is to get that. Like he's like, look, Mulroney is very influential for me because like my Sec 2 teacher, because I went to a school for learning disabilities. I'm highly functioning autistic, like your daughter is, which we'll get into. But like my teacher said, she was like, she's very far left. I love you, Miss Linda. You're the best. Thank you for telling me. She goes, yeah, you're conservative, but be like Brian because it's about relationships, and that's what's going to
Mhm.
take you far. So that's why he's most influential for
Yeah,
me.
he was, and he had a lot of lessons to teach modern conservatives on how to manage your caucus, how to
Mm-hmm.
manage people, because politics isn't just about winning elections. It's about holding the team together between elections
Mm-hmm.
and moving projects forward, whether it's, bills in the House or just generally the movement itself. You've got to keep that team happy. And he was
Mm-hmm.
really the master of that.
He really was. I always have a feeling, and I want to ask this because you were very obviously like very loyal to the Mulrooney's and what they've helped, how they've helped you. I've always said this: if Meech Lake had passed, this is how I think Canada would be trajecting. We can't do what about, but I like to, and I want to do it with you. Here, I'm going to give you a hypothetical.
Sure.
Meech Lake passes. Mulrooney resigns in '91 because he did plan to resign in 1991. Charest becomes the PM, not Campbell, but he does struggle a bit. Chrétien does win in '93. There's sort of a referendum, but it's not by a lot because of Meech Lake and it passes. Chrétien does lose in '97, but he does manage to be a prime minister. Charest comes back, and then we get Paul Martin and then Harper. That's how I see it playing out.
So you're assuming the Reform Party would never become a
No,
thing.
they
And
wouldn't have been a thing.
I'm not too sure about that. And I think because the Reform Party wasn't simply a creature of the moment,
Hmm.
it was something that Preston Manning and his father, Ernest Manning, had thought about for many years. In
Hmm.
fact, I do touch on that in the book too,
You did.
about how there was already this sense of the West, it was the West wants in was their slogan,
Hmm.
but it was also what we're seeing now. Western separatism. That is something that's always sort of been there dormant and then flared up in the West. So I'm not sure. They may not have gotten as far as they did, though. And
Hmm.
the Bloc Québécois, too, like both parties might have been more muted examples of themselves.
Hmm.
So it could explain, the results you're saying that conservatives and liberals would have still held power in that way without the sort of the tumultuousness that we saw as a result of the demise of Meach and then later Charlottetown.
Very true. And obviously, to take it to the right path, one thing I really loved what you said, and this is where we just had the last election, and that's where I started reading your book. So, look, I was a young populist too when I came back into politics. We all started as a populist. I'm going to use the example of Pokemon here. If your kids have played the game, Pokemon, it's like the game where you get your starter, like, of like, say, um, one of the three starters that are of the elements earth, water, fire. When you're the starter, you become an MP. Oh, no, you're trying to become an MP. That's like the first stage. The second stage is when you're an MP or leader of opposition. And then the final stage is PM. That's Pokemon for you. So see, I just use Pokemon in politics. But in the book here, by the way, once again, plug it in. Please buy it, guys. It's a great book. Tasha's amazing, and she's going to be my friend after this. You see, we formed something here.
I'm not paying
And
him to do this.
no, I'm doing it for free because I'm
I
trying
know.
to help. I'm trying to do what she says in the book because if the conservatives want to win, in Quebec especially, because this is what I'm trying to do as an Anglophone in Quebec to explain to the rest of Canada why we're crazy, not in a bad way, we're just distinct. We got to build a good ground game and take incrementalism because what's so important about incrementalism that you could say, Tasha? Because that's the thing you're probably hearing around you. We can't win Quebec. They write Quebec off. It's block liberal territory. So how can incrementalism from here help with the ground game?
Well, incrementalism, the idea is that it's actually a very conservative worldview, is that you
Hmm.
gain ground gradually in things. You are, you hew true to your heritage, your roots,
Hmm.
the sort of, you build on what's already there. You don't just have a revolution and tear everything down. And that's where conservatives and populists part ways because
Hmm.
populists very often veer into the sort of revolutionary, much more aggressive social change.
Hmm.
So what with conservatism and incrementalism, Stephen Harper was an incrementalist. He
Hmm.
won his elections, two minorities. Then he got a majority. Then he lost, but he was gaining ground slowly by making changes and moving the goalposts on issues. So he moved the goalposts on issues like crime, for example, by passing a number of bills to recognize victims' rights. In Quebec, incrementally, we're now seeing again the PQ coming out. So I think for federalists, if we're going to see that dichotomy again of federalist separatists, for conservatives, I think incrementally they have to reach out to people who don't want that kind of revolutionary change. Because I mean, a country becoming a country is the ultimate revolutionary act, right? And say that no, to improve life in Quebec, you've got to make changes. You've got to have more free enterprise. You have to have less state engagement. You have to have lower taxes. You have to do all sorts of things to enable people to take control of their lives. And using a Polyev metaphor here, but in a way that doesn't just split from the existing status quo in that dramatic way. So there are a lot of things, the CAC is doing some of them provincially on immigration, for example. They are curbing immigration. The federal government is too, liberals are, but everyone's kind of doing like these kinds of things. But again, it's a sort of a slow boil as opposed to a fast boil. And I think
Hmm.
conservatives can be less scary that way too, because some people think conservatives are scary if they would advance an incrementalist agenda.
They thought, like, I mean, when I came out conservative, it was like, oh my God, it was like during the past election, it was like when if you ever watch GoldenEye, it's the 30th anniversary of that Bond film. Remember when 006 like comes out and he's like, oh, I'm in alive. And it's like, for people around me, like, oh my God, you're conservative. And I'm like, I guess I'm Yanis. What can I say to you? But that's why I go by an anti-hero because I don't
Okay,
do
wait.
all
So you know
this.
what? You got it. If you have read, I will get you a copy. You get me
Yeah.
your address. I will send you a copy of Rescuing Canada's Right. I don't know if you read my first book I wrote with.
I saw it and I just want to say by the way because like you still look the same by the way back then but the brown hair
Ah,
you had
very
like
sweet.
I was like damn it's like Tasha it's like as I said I'm this your husband better not come after me so
I
I'm
don't
just
have
saying
one, so you're safe.
okay for tall women, it's gonna be a hot topic. Tall women, they age beautifully. I mean, and they don't age. So there you go. See?
Well, there you go. Anyway, that book starts off with that premise of, if
There.
you out yourself as a conservative at a cocktail party, suddenly the oxygen is sucked from the room and everyone
Yes.
backs away and makes for the bar. You know what, today, it's more, I think you do have a little bit of that today in some circles because of what's happening south of the border. And I don't know if you want to touch on that a lot or not, but it
Not
is,
really. Yeah, because
yeah,
it's too hot button.
it is a hot button, but it makes life harder for conservatives because people equate everything that's happening and the negative stuff, which of which there's a lot, with conservatism. It's not. Republicanism and Trumpism are very different from each other. Conservatism and Trumpism are different. So conservatism really hews back to like the days of Edmund Burke in England and in the French Revolution, opposing that, again, that aggressive revolution with incrementalist, more traditionalist views of things. And that is really what conservatism is about. So I'd like to get back to that as a party, and that, I think, which appeals to a lot of people. I call it common sense conservatism in the book, because it really is that. You see that with some politicians who do use those words, the common sense conservatives. It means different things to different people, but that's what it means to me. It's just that, it's the common sense of people. It's not seeking to radically reform or change the world overnight. It's doing what's best for people within a framework of, like I said, smaller government, lower taxes, more individual control over your life.
Very, very true. And I love how you said it there. But yeah, you out yourself. Like people were like, "Are you a reformist? Like, are you okay?" Because like what I got, yeah, like listen, but what got me into conservatism was, first of all, like it was the leadership of Pierre Poilievre. I mean, I'm not sure if you follow hockey in a way. Like, I mean,
Not too much,
okay,
but I was following baseball. I mean, the Leafs. Come on, the Leafs.
listen,
The,
I used to be a Habs fan, and I'm gonna say this right here because politicians can change parties, and I hate when and Montrealers are gonna be traitor. I became a Sens fan because I was tired of the politics with Montreal.
okay.
The constant, like we have 24 cups. Guess what? It's 1993. Like you haven't won a cup since before my parents were met. But no, Pierre reminded me of like an Alexei Kovalev, like that distinct, unique athlete that has the skill and all. So that's what made me vote for him. I think Jean Charest was an amazing choice too. I think if Charest had ran in 2021, I think he would have beat Trudeau. That's what me and my friend Sammy, who, by the way, voted for Charest in the leadership race because he's a conservative too. But like he was like, yeah, he goes, I think Charest would have won in 21 because Jean knew how to answer the abortion question, as you said in the book. Jean knows Quebec well. He saved the province and led it to success, and regardless of its flaws. So I want to know if you agree with that hypothesis of if he ran in 21 as opposed
If
to
he had been
22.
instead of Aaron O'Toole, if he'd been the leader, you're saying back
Yes.
then. Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I don't think he was looking for the job at the time, though I do think that he would have had a better shot. Yes, because I think what the issues that O'Toole ran into was the set that people liked the Trudeau government because they felt they were helping them through the pandemic. That was what research showed, was that people who voted Liberal, it's because they felt safe and they felt like they had their back. Aaron O'Toole might not have given off that vibe. Charest would have definitely had that, pater familias kind of gravitas, and he's so I think that he could have stood toe to toe with Trudeau on that. But Trudeau fatigue hadn't also set in yet, so I'm not sure how well the Conservatives. At the end of the day, they did the abortion issue, the gun issue, those issues bit them towards the end, but people were still not totally ready for change, right?
Right.
And they still aren't fully, but they're much more so. I mean,
Yes.
things are much closer now than they ever have been in the last decade.
Right. So you also said, I know obviously like you've had your thoughts on Poilievre, and this is where some are gonna say, "Oh no, he's cornering Tasha."
We're going to disagree. Agree to disagree.
We're gonna disagree. The show's gonna end. Tasha's gonna say, "I'm never coming on here." She's gonna
Be a
go up
black
to
screen.
She's
No,
gonna
just
be a
kidding.
black screen. No,
Right.
of course. I wanted to ask you this because obviously, we see a large. I want to ask this. This is a tough one. We see large concessions from conservatives, Tash, that have paved the way for way more left over the past few decades. Liberals have often moved forward on ideologically left-aligned ideas that are inorganic and not generally embraced by the larger populace. What do you think are some social what do you think I'm sorry if I had to write this down.
That's okay.
What do you think are some social conservative views that liberals need to concede on in order to truly represent Canadians who don't like the direction Canada has gone in? Because this is what we see with the Poilievre crowd, where it's like disenfranchised liberals. Like I would have voted liberal, but I'm sorry, I just can't at all. I have my reasons, but yeah, so it's a tough one.
I think what's happened, it's not so much social conservative ideas, but ideas the left has championed. The left has championed more and more. Um, I would say they've championed individual rights. Traditionally, they were about, your rights for minorities,
Hmm.
rights for Black people in the 60s,
Hmm.
rights for women in the 60s and 70s. That the left has championed those kinds of ideas of people fighting for rights and freedoms. They have kind of, I will say, jumped the shark,
Hmm.
because in the last decade, identity politics has become really like the norm. You're talking about DEI, you're talking about trans rights, you're talking about a lot of issues that are seeking to give rights to people, but are also seen as taking away rights from
Hmm.
others. And that's where the left has had a serious problem, because the intention of DEI is that everyone has a fair shot, or it should
Hmm.
be. Everyone has a fair shot at the same opportunity. But the way it's been used is to basically exclude certain groups and privilege other groups based on ethnicity and identity, and give them a fairer shot or a better shot. And research shows that when you do that, when people feel for it, whether it's because your parents were rich, that would be on the right side, oh, they just favor rich people, or on the left side, just because you belong to a certain ethnic group,
Hmm.
that you get a better shot than other people for no other reason than you belong to a group, people get mad. And this is what has happened. And there's a book that I read, Reclaiming Populism by Eric Protzer, which exactly looks at this issue of when people feel that they're being cheated out of an opportunity because some people are being favored, they get mad. And that's what's happened with the left because they have been championing DEI in that way. Trans rights has also become an issue, in part also because it deals with children. I
Hmm.
think if trans rights had stayed on the level of adults, we wouldn't be having a conversation about it like we are.
Hmm.
But when parents see this, and it's parents on the right, but parents also on the left feel that they are losing some kind of say or control of their children's lives
Hmm.
in a way they think is negative,
Hmm.
they get very upset. It's an issue that transcends, in some ways, politics because it is a family issue, a parental rights issue, all this
Hmm.
stuff. Um, and the sad thing is that a lot of people have been hurt by this.
Hmm.
A lot of trans people have been hurt by the backlash against them because some people have used this as a political stick
Hmm.
to beat the right down and say you are bad. You say anything about, for example, trans participation in sports, suddenly you're transphobic. J.K. Rowling got canceled, all sort of things like this. I mean, it reached points where it was no longer serving a cause,
Hmm.
and a lot of people have been swept up in this now, and a lot of politicians have made hay about it. So I think the left really, they hammered on those issues very hard as their rights issues, and it didn't resonate with most people,
Hmm.
and it resonated wrong with many people.
Hmm.
So as a result, they sort of pushed themselves further and further into that corner. So it's not about, the social conservatives who most of them would oppose, they would probably oppose trans rights. They would completely, they would oppose DEI. It's not about saying you're right. It's about saying or taking that piece and admitting, okay, you're right. And we got to, no, it's about recognizing that none of this is common sense.
Hmm.
Going back to what I was saying, is that, is it common sense to say that parents have no say in their children's well-being, or that kids can decide issues that they may not even be fully aware of, that could impact them down the road in the future
Hmm.
without any kind of strictures of medical oversight or anything else. I personally, as a parent, don't think so.
Hmm.
And my daughter has a lot of friends who are trans at school. But they've made educated choices. Interestingly enough, these kids have made educated
Hmm.
choices. Um, but not all kids have. And
No.
to be honest, so I think there's a lot of sense that the left lost its way because that became its issues. And on the other hand, too, we went through COVID and a recession, right? Which is, people are hungry, people can't pay their grocery bills, people don't have jobs because of AI. Those are the issues the left should be looking at because those are the traditional issues: workers' rights, poverty, anti-poverty. The left kind of left that aside. They abandoned it in favor of
Hmm.
identity politics. That's where they lost their way, and that's where in the states, why the Donald Trump got elected, quite frankly,
Hmm.
because there was so much disarray and so much stuff that didn't appeal. I know that was a long answer, but there you
No,
go.
that makes sense. I mean, it's good. Like, I mean, the other thing too that I did like at the end, because the book is really good, and then you at the end say the liberal progressive conservative party, and I'm
The
just like,
Liberal Conservative Party, I know.
I'm like, this is like, I'm like,
Otherwise known as Mark Carney, frankly, like progressive
yeah.
conservative. I know, right? We kind of have it.
I mean, so far in words, not in actions or deeds, really, because like he says stuff and all. Like, I mean, look, I want Carney to do well. Even I'm not going to be one of those. He's not my PM like they did with Trump or whatever. Look, if he gets
Right.
away, look. All I'm saying, get a deal with the U.S. Look, this is my message to Mark. So if you have any friends, Tasha, who are liberal, this is my PSA. Mark, Prime Minister, please take the F-35 deal. I am autistic, and I'm saying this because I know aviation. I don't want to hear about how the Gripens don't freeze and all. The F-35 logistics, your next door trading partner. Find a way. Put the egos aside. Just deal with the U.S. Get the trade deal done. Build the pipelines, and I'll be happy. That's all I ask for. Please, Prime Minister. That's it. That's my PSA to Mark. But no, the end was, which I kind of disagree with, because for me, it's like, okay, but wouldn't that split the vote between in a way? And it's kind of back to the reform versus like the alliance, reform alliance would then versus they went through too many name brands. I know.
Yeah, I said at the end of the book that you could end up with a situation where either you end up with a party that is more like a liberal conservative party, with all the big tent represented, or you get a new party because it polarizes so much to the left and the right that a new party comes up in the middle that represents this idea. I don't think the new party is an ideal situation at all. And in fact, there were a couple of people who tried. There was a party that was formed out of the sort of let's say not the ashes because it didn't disappear, but there was a group that was looking for sort of a middle of the road conservative position on things, and they created a new party that has run Dominic Carty as a leader, and the name of it is escaping me now.
It's the Canada Party or something like that.
Yes, exactly, and so they tried to do that. It didn't work because I think there's so much polarization. I think right now what you're seeing with Carney is actually he's cribbed a lot of what the conservatives were talking about. You know, he's diminished certain taxes, the carbon taxes, even though the industrial one's still there, but he got rid of the personal one. He has lowered middle class tax on the middle class. He is going to be, however, doing what liberals do. Spend. Like crazy.
At least we can agree on that. We can
all
agree
these
on
projects.
that.
But he's hewing closer to what the Brian Mulroney style of things, because Mulroney was also very interventionist in some ways. I mean, yes, he did privatize a bunch of stuff, but the government also still gave out corporate welfare and did, deals and Bombardier and stuff like you remember. These kinds of things happened under his watch too. So Carney kind of is actually creating a blue liberal party after years of Trudeau, opposite woke, very far left party.
Do you feel what he's going to do? This is my prediction. Right now, he's got the Trudeau ministers. We don't have to give the names because, we know who they are. What I'm thinking he's doing is he's hoping they resign because there's rumors that some might resign, depending who you ask. And then he's going to get ready to put his guys in and to make them look more like blue liberals, so to say. That's what I'm thinking. He's just buying time to see when for example, Stephen Guilbeault said he's going to leave and then he's going to go into become something in the private sector, or Bill Blair. These are Trudeau ministers. So my guess is, I think that's what he's going to do. I know Harper tried to coax Carney before, way back. They had a secret meeting where they tried to get his services. They tried to bring him over in a sports trade, and he's like, nope. He goes, I don't want to do it. But hey, look, he is where he is. I don't agree with anything, but I hope he gets some policies done. So that's how I look at Carney, what he's trying to do.
Yeah, I think Carney, Carney had to walk that line between inheriting a pile of Trudeau people and putting his own stamp on things. And from what I understand, his managerial style is very different. He's very much, sort of technocratic approach to things. Everyone's got to run on time and everyone's got to do. And if you don't do your work, you're out. He hasn't had a shuffle yet of people who've been in the job for a while. So I think in the new year we might see that. Maybe Chris D'Entremont will get a cabinet post. Who knows, right?
Yeah. I also want to ask this too, because you had Brian Lilly on. By the way, I love Brian. I just want to say for the record, you, Brian, and Warren are my favorite on the mainstream side of things. So I look at all three of you guys as I had Warren on, by the way. Maybe you spoke. So Warren is I feel like whenever I text him, I hope I'm not bugging him, because Warren's very focused on his stuff. I love you, Warren. Get the War Room, by the way, and Hidden Hand that's coming out. I pre-ordered it. Warren's done a great job exposing anti-Semitism, so just got to put that on the record. So hopefully you appreciate that. With Brian, you said, Brian asked, what happens next with Pierre? Because the way you said it, he's reached his peak. Maybe it's time to move on. I still feel he deserves a second chance. He can pivot. He's got to make some big changes around him. I said that to someone who's close to him. For example, the MP muzzling. You don't do that because I do combat sports, Tasha. Combat sports and politics are the same. You promote, you hype it up like the fighters. Those are your MPs. And you say, well, we can't really do this because, HQ said that ended, which is good. But do you feel Pierre can take that next level? If yes, why? If not, no. And what should he do, in your opinion, to change?
Well, he said he's not going to, and that's a problem. He had mellowed. I think mellow is the word I would use in terms of his style at the beginning of this session of Parliament. He seemed to be taking a more statesman-like approach, less aggressive. Even said, we hope the government steals our ideas, and we're going to work with them on things that matter to Canada. Those are very good, good things. People like to hear that. But then he seems to have reverted to type, and he had that podcast a few weeks ago where he said, the RCMP gave Trudeau an easy ride, didn't look into things. There should have been jail time. That woke a lot of people up, or sort of slapped them upside the head, because they said, well, but wait, we thought he had kind of, he had been more, he wasn't like that really anymore. He was more statesman-like and more, I don't know, just polished, smooth, whatever you want to say. This was just such a rough thing to say, and it was at the same week that Donald Trump had said that he was going to pursue who was it again to go to jail. He had it was his former John Bolton, that he should they were gonna they pressed charges against him. I mean, it was just, the timing was terrible. And then since then he's also said once just last week, I'm not going to change. Someone asked him a question. It's not about changing who he is. It's changing how he manages people. Maybe that is about who you are at the end of the day. But that's what's leaving a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And in the party in particular, candidates, people who thought they would be candidates, who were badly treated by the party, who then put other people in at the last minute in the last election. Happened across the country. Yeah. The general climate of fear, which is a real thing. And a lot of it goes to Jenny Byrne, who has worked with Poilievre for a very long time. They have a long-standing relationship, friendship, as people as well.
I just want to say, for the record, I did not like how she treated you when you said that in the book. I go, that was kind of like, are you serious? But that's who she is.
Yeah, but that's who she is. And I think that's who he is too. And that is the problem. That is a problem, Drew. And I don't know how you get around that, because not everyone wants to work for a boss that yells at them. Some people will put up with it because, the perks, the job, whatever. But a lot of people will say, no, thanks. And I think they're going to have trouble motivating people if that's still the climate in the next election, because people don't want to feel that they're only doing this because otherwise they get hit over the head with a stick. You need carrots too. You need Mulrooney. You need the big family. You need to
have the relationships. Like, that's the thing. Like, there's things I don't agree with, Tasha. Like, I have friends who are like very far left. I still need them at the end of the day because there's stuff we have in common. It's about dialogue. That's what I do. That's what we're doing now. Like, I think honestly, like with that, like, as I said, the way I look at it is like, and I'm telling you right now, as I said, you probably have sources in Quebec, because some are saying, no, the leadership's like good. It's 50-50 in Quebec and the Maritimes. Like, I've spoken to people. It depends. One side of Quebec, they're going to keep him, but one side is like, no, we're going to trigger a leadership race. So that's how we feel right now out east. And I wish people understood that. Like, that's how the Conservatives are out east. We're different. You're of that ilk. I'm sort of that ilk, although I'm more to the right on some stuff, but I'm center. But you know what I mean? We're different. Progressive. We're different from the Maritimes and Quebec.
Yeah, and I think there's also the sense in the West of the Western alienation piece, which is right now very strong, because Alberta is looking at having a referendum in the spring. And this convention that Poilievre will have his leadership vote at is in Calgary in January, the same time that there's a convention provincially here in Ontario for the PCs. So you're not going to have a lot of the people who would have probably voted against him show up. So you're going to get a lot more Westerners who will, make the trek, make the time. Fewer people probably from Quebec.
I'm going for the record.
Well, that's good. And this is the thing, is that they need to have all the voices represented. Yeah. I fear that they will not be. So I don't think his vote will be in jeopardy unless some other stuff happens between now and January. But he does have to also think about caucus, because caucus also votes. This is not just a leadership approval rating of the party. It's caucus can vote him out like they did Aaron O'Toole. If he doesn't manage his people nicely, they have the power to get rid of him. And the thing is, unless they have someone else waiting in the wings, it's kind of less interesting to do that. So they don't really have someone right now, not in caucus. There's no one in caucus, I would say, that person, next leader. Most of the names you hear are outside the party, which is a much harder thing to take over a party, as Jean Charest, we all learned, is not an easy thing at all. So, you hear Milk Maroney, you hear Jason Kenney, you hear
Doug
the people,
Ford, Tim
Doug Ford.
Houston.
I know all these names float around, but they don't have their hooks in the party the way Polyev does. So,
No.
but if Caucus does vote to get rid of him, then then he'd have to go. So he better be nice to those people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. It's all about relationships. Like, see,
Yep.
we disagree, but look at the
But we
relationship.
agree.
We agree. Yeah, on certain things, I agree. That's the thing. See, guys, this is what it's about. These dialogues. We need to have these more dialogues. Tasha, I really want to ask you because it's dear to my heart. Because I watched your TEDx talk about having an autistic daughter.
Thank you.
I was diagnosed at 7. Now it was then called pervasive developmental delay, not otherwise specified. No, it's not on TikTok. I got this or Chat GBT. I actually got diagnosed because now everyone's claiming they're
He's like,
freaking
what are your letters? Okay, I told to my daughter, like, I think I have ADHD, and she's like, Mom. I'm like, but I need letters too. I need letters. Come
We
on.
all do, yeah.
Yeah.
But my mom, like, she fought tooth and nail for my therapies, and
Oh,
what
good for
made me a
her.
conservative. Rest in peace, Marlene. She lost her battle to stage 4 pancreatic 3 years
I'm so
ago.
sorry.
It's life. I mean, I lost my dad when I was younger too. So, and he was big into politics. So they were big influences for me. So Senator Leo, I had him on my show. We
I
spoke about
saw that
bills
one.
too
That was
up
a
here.
good
Yeah.
show. Yeah.
And that's what made me a conservative. Because the thing is, Tash, I'm sure your daughter's amazing. You've done amazing. I'll always back you on that. And that's something that's so dear to me. I became conservative because I wanted to tell neurodivergent Canadians, you're not in a box. You can be successful. And Bill S-203 has those tools. Like, look what I did. I got a degree. I was told I'd never get a degree. I was told I'd be a statistic. They gave me that welfare, by the way, that they give, that they offer special needs. But my mom said you could do that. No, it was both my parents. They said you could take it, but then you're putting yourself in a box for life and you're never going to realize your potential. So so that's what made me a conservative, to be that voice. I mean, look, I'm unfiltered. Sometimes I say crazy stuff, but listen, we're all human. But what does it mean to you when you got that diagnosis for your daughter? And what changed you as a mom for that?
Oh, wow. I mean, she was 3, and I kind of knew something was up with her from her very early days. She had started. She was always very restless. She was always moving. She started to walk at 8 months. She talked at 8 months. It was kind of, she was precocious. So first I just thought she was precocious, but then I noticed things started happening. She started to be unable to tolerate stimuli. Like when she was 2, we had these classes, all these classes you take your kids to, sport ball. And I remember her throwing herself on the ground, covering her hands with her ears, screaming
Sensitivity, yeah.
when the parents were clapping for their kids because they were doing something. And she was just screaming. And I thought, okay, something is wrong. Something's like, this is not, I use the word normal, but this is not the norm you would expect in this situation. So she was diagnosed. One of her preschool teachers also thought she might be on the spectrum. So got her assessed. And it was almost a weird relief in a way, because even though it was tough, because I realized, okay, yes, I was right. But there was a road ahead. There were things we went to the Holland Bloorview Hospital in Toronto. They gave us names of therapists. Promptly she got a OT. She got, therapies for her sensitivities. I converted my basement into like a gym. Yeah, we called it Furniture Island, right? She would jump from furniture to furniture, and I had a little mini trampoline and stuff so she could get her energy out and not feel like, feel that she could release the feelings that she needed to, and stim and do whatever she needed to not feel, I don't know. I mean, you would know more than me. She describes it to me. She's like, sometimes I say, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. She goes, ha, you're overwhelmed. Yeah, well, I'm sitting in this room and the lights up there are bothering me. And, she's gets so much stimulation from just ordinary things that most neurotypicals like me do not feel. And that is huge. Yeah. And so, we went through a journey together on so many different things. She also before she went to school, she went to a learning center so she could learn how to line up and how to,
Socialize. I did it too. I was putting that through 12, 13. I was a mess.
Well, that's a bit later. See, she was 5, right? So
Well,
it was.
I was diagnosed at 12, but there was this issue still. Like, I was a mess. Like I was like Tasmanian devil. Let's just say.
And she always has been a very like she's a very physical child. She likes to run around. Like I remember that she would just run around more than other kids, just run here and everywhere. And she's now what I feel we have done right is that she understands herself really well, and she knows when she needs to be alone. She says, "Mom, alone." I'm like, bye. She goes to her room. She sits there. She's got a heavy blanket, whatever she needs to just calm herself and self-regulate. And she still has challenges with executive function. I mean, her room is a tornado, but mine was
Same.
too at her age.
Yeah.
Disaster. So
Okay.
I'm like, okay. But those are the sorts of things, staying on top of schedules, planning your work, not melting down when things get too much, finding another way to express your stress. So we still work on that, but she's amazing. She's in an art school. She's a fine art school. Yeah. And wants to be an artist, fashion designer. Like she's studying Japanese.
Oh, is she into Japan too? Because I'm
You
going
loves anime. You mentioned anime.
Me
Oh
too.
my God. I've watched
Yeah.
so much anime now. It's not even funny.
Have you watched Akira, the movie Akira?
No, we're watching Nana now, actually.
Okay.
Nana's a pretty old one. But,
Watch Akira because it's so
Akira. Okay.
important. Like your daughter's gonna love me now. You got to tell her about me. She's
Okay,
gonna-
I will.
And by the way, to the daughter, you can message me. I'll probably do my best to answer. Because I saw you on your socials, like you went to Japan. I go to Japan every 2 years. This is a bad joke I make.
Nice.
A lot of Jews go to Israel and Florida. I go to Japan. I'm different that way. So I don't want. I want to be left alone.
Have you been to Anime Japan? Have you been to the convention there?
I want to do a convention this year. I'm doing.
Very cool.
I'm doing only Tokyo this year, and then I'm doing Taiwan because I have to fly out for a karate tournament to cover.
Oh, wow,
Remember,
cool.
I do not just this. I do karate content, so that's what I do. So I gotta
Very
fly
nice.
out. So yeah, but no, that's amazing. But Tasha, I wish we had more time because you're very tight on time, as you're busy. But where can people find you? And we got to do round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5, whenever you want. And make sure to get this book, The Right Path. It's $20. She's not paying me. This is my way because I'm a Brian Mulrooney conservative. You understand? It's about relationships and remembering. So I'm Drew from the Drewsperience. Tasha, where can people connect with you?
So people can connect with me in various places. I'm on Twitter, Tasha Kheiriddin. My name is my handle. On Instagram, same. I have, in my opinion, on Substack is my Substack. I write for the National Post. I write for G0 Media. So you can Google those. Just plug my name into your search engine and you will find a million places where you can connect. Yeah, Drew, it would be great to do a round 2, maybe in the new year. Maybe Cardi has a shuffle or something. We can,
I could
mix
tell
it
you
up.
about my Japan trip, and I'll be like,
Yeah,
send this
that
to your
too.
daughter. Like,
Absolutely.
Just, but yeah, no, Tasha, I really want to thank you. You're one of my big influences. The one thing I'll ask, I'm going to shoot my shot here. Brian Lilly, if you can put out a good word for Tim for me, I'd love to have Brian on because my goal is to have him and Warren on like a Bachelor's Burning Questions with my show, and then have you and Brian on or you and Warren on to discuss liberalism and conservatism. We need these dialogues.
That'd be fun. I'll let him know. We do our podcast for the National Post, full comment. So I will pass the word on for sure.
Perfect. Guys, make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe button to the Drewsperience. Follow Tasha. Get her book, The Right Path. And if you're really able to find it, Rescuing the Right, it's a great way. She's going to send me a copy if she has it still.
Yeah, put your address in the DMs there in Twitter, and I will send it to you.
Perfect. Will do.
Twitter.
Tasha, thank you so much. This was awesome. And
thank you.
We'll do it again. The door's always open.
Sounds good, Drew. Have a great